Welcome friends to another r/am I the jerk here video. Would you be the jerk for fat shaming a friend? We'll find out, but first a story from Inevitable Rain 7586. Am I the jerk for not inviting the next door neighbor girl to our backyard party? We live on a block filled with kids. Every now and then I like to get a bounce house and throw a little backyard party for them. I threw another one last week. I want my sons to have good memories with his neighbor kid friends because they all go to different schools. I told the parents about the party, and that was lieu of an invite. I didn't invite the 8-year-old girl who lives next door. Why? My freaking god, she screams over everything. It's not even a scream, it's ear-piercing screeching. I cannot stand it. I can tune out the loud sounds from my 7 and 9-year-old boys and their friends, but not that girl screaming. It's like she sees a bug, she screams. She thinks someone's chasing her, she screams. She jumps off a swing, she screams. I'm pretty sure it's for attention, but I can't spend my Saturday listening to it in my backyard. Like, I'd end up yelling at her, and I don't want to do that or come across like an angry dad. Her parents did ask me if something was wrong because she wasn't invited. I bluntly told them that I just can't take the screaming. They said she's no more louder than any other kid. No, she's much louder. I told them I didn't want to discuss it any further. If and when she can stop her screaming, then I'll be more than happy to invite her to my backyard parties. They were deeply offended. I'm not looking for suggestions to abate her screaming or possible explanations for her screaming. I just don't want to hear it or be around it. Some people might say that OP's insensitive for excluding the kid because of their tendency to be loud and screamy. You know, maybe if this was a situation where OP's kids were like, please invite her, like they were the best of friends, then maybe you could say OP's the jerk. But it's OP's party that OP's hosting themselves. They have every right to not invite anybody for any reason. What do you guys think? Would somebody be the jerk for not inviting a kid to the kid's neighborhood party because the kid just can't stop screaming? I'd like to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is from Monica Rogers 099. Am I the jerk for walking out of my baby shower after mother-in-law denied me food? Before I start, I'd like to say that I'm a bit of a big girl. No shame in that, I love myself just the way I am. And I've been living by the motto, be you, everybody else is taken. Mother-in-law, darling husband's mom, always made comments about my weight. Ever since I got pregnant, she started making more comments while low-key shaming me for what I eat. Whenever I visit, she'd give me a smaller plate, portion, cup, even spoons. She also buys me small size clothes even though I'm in my second trimester and those clothes don't fit. My sister-in-law decided to throw me a baby shower after my darling husband denied when my sister offered to throw me one. The whole side of my in-laws are invited. Mom refused to come after what darling husband said to my sister. Another story for later. I got there and mother-in-law was in charge of serving food to the guests. All that was served was cakes and juice. I got hungry from talking and I got up to eat some cake. The second I put my hand on the cake, mother-in-law grabbed my arm and said that I'd gained enough weight already and that if I keep this up, her son will not be happy living with a large walrus. I was shocked. I didn't know how to react, especially since she said that out loud. She looked at me in a sorry, not sorry kind of way. I put the cake down and grabbed my stuff and started walking. Her daughter stopped me saying I can't leave mid-party and embarrass her like that. I told her to tell her mom to leave if she wanted me to stay, but she went off and said, "Are you crazy? She's my mom. You want me to kick her out in front of everybody?" I turned around and kept walking. I called mom to come pick me up and went home. Darling husband came home looking furious. He asked me to explain what I did at the baby shower and why. I mentioned what his mom did, and he started ranting about how I screwed this up over something so minor. I told him it wasn't minor in my opinion, since she literally cut me off food and didn't let me eat when I was hungry. He said that his mom meant well and that I needed to get rid of this easily offended mindset immediately before I pass it down to our son. He said that cakes are essential foods and that this wasn't a good enough reason to walk out of the baby shower that his mom and sister put a ton of money, time, and effort into. He said that I had hours to call and fix things up, but I refused. I went to stay with my mom because he wouldn't stop pressuring me to call and apologize for what happened. He kept talking about how pissed and let down his mom and sister feel and called me ungrateful and spiteful for doing what I did. Am I overreacting here? I think regardless of what your stature is, to go and grab somebody's arm like that, especially at a party that's meant for that person, and say that to their face, you've gotta be a terrible person. I think OP is definitely not the jerk, and I know I would walk right out of there like that too. Why would you want to spend any time around people who can treat you like that? If that mother-in-law really felt the need to say something, there are way more constructive and less public ways of doing so. You know, handling the whole thing from a place of love and concern, not snatching their arm in front of everybody and calling them a walrus. Also, I wish OP the best of luck with their husband because they seem like they might still be breastfeeding, the way they're latched onto their mom like that. Our next story is from Mango Dude 4533. Am I the jerk for refusing to put my daughter's future stepdad on school emergency contact list? I'm going to make this short. I'm a single dad of 2 girls, 5 and 7. They go to the same school, and their mom and I take turns in picking them up and dropping them off at school. Their mom started dating this guy, Sean, exactly 4 months ago. He's moved in already and is living with the girls as well at their mom's place. I got a call from their mom the other day asking me for my approval to put Sean on the girls' school emergency contact list. I laughed at first thinking, what the freak, you serious? The freak should I do that for? She got pissed and said, well, he bought a new car. I asked what that had to do with it. She explained that she had to start working more and may not be available in case of an emergency and wants Sean to be able to act on her behalf if and when something happens. I said that if and when something happens, God forbid, then the last person I want acting in an emergency is her boyfriend of 4 months. I called her delusional and told her that she wouldn't put work over an emergency, basically her daughter's safety, for freak's sake. She got more pissed and called me unhinged, jealous, uncooperative, and nasty, and said that I clearly don't have the girls' best interest at heart. I hung up, but she kept calling and then had her mom call me to tell me to do it and stop being petty just because I don't like the guy who, by the way, is the girl's future stepdad. I've been getting heat from in-laws because of my refusal, which makes me want to reconsider, but I don't know and I don't feel comfortable with this request. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. 4 months is not long enough for this kind of substitute dad behavior. Let alone the fact that I would be freaked out knowing my young daughters are living in a house with the boyfriend of 4 months as well. I mean, you don't know anything about this dude. He might seem like the most swell guy, but at the same time, you don't know. I mean, how many times have there been stories where everybody who knew somebody thought they were a swell person and they turned out to be a total monster behind the scenes? It's just way too soon, probably even for moving in, especially with the young kids around, and much too soon to list them as an emergency contact. Do a grandparent, do a aunt or uncle, not a 4-month boyfriend. I think OP is not the jerk. By the way, if you're enjoying these stories, make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons down below so you never miss any of my daily videos. This next story is from Throwaway24 Gondorian. Am I the jerk for fat-shaming a friend back to make her stop commenting on my appearance? Jean, 25-year-old female, is not really my 24-year-old male friend. We just happen to be in the same large circle of friends who often hang out and go on a vacation together. I never liked her, honestly. She's the kind of person who believes she has the right to always speak her mind, and that includes giving unsolicited advice to those who don't ask for it. We barely interacted with each other really, and I've never really had problems with her until last week. I'd been avoiding everyone for months after my twin brother passed away last year. I spiraled down into depression. I went to therapy and I'm getting better now though. I've been taking some antidepressants which make me gain a lot of weight, and is one of the reasons why I avoided my friends. I didn't want them to see me like this. Some of them have been trying to reach out to me and even went to great lengths to support me and pull me out of my pity party and reclusion. We were having dinner at a friend's last week, and Jean just could not stop making remarks about how different I looked and how big I was, which I found hilariously ironic, since she herself has been struggling with obesity and body image for years. She said I looked like a totally different person, should shave my face, etc. At first I ignored her. Some friends even told her to give it a rest. But apparently she had decided that my appearance was the most interesting subject to talk about while merrily sipping some wine that afternoon. Then at one point she said, "Remember when Chris Pratt was fat? That's you. You look just like him now, the fat Chris Pratt." On the spur of the moment, I calmly replied, "I've been taking some medicine that makes me gain weight. What's your excuse?" She looked stunned, her face went red, and then she quietly went into the next room. She never bothered me again for the rest of that evening. Most of my friends don't really blame me, they think she had it coming, but some think I went too far by fat shaming her back. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk here. I think there's only so much somebody can tolerate and take. Before, honestly, you just need to say something that makes them wake up and realize maybe you've been blabbing your mouth and being a bit of a jerk. I just hope beyond this point that OP can take it in stride, let it not bother them. If they're in the same friend group again or they see each other again, don't even reference it, don't apologize for it, act like that exchange never even happened, and hope that they do the same. Our next story is from 27 Dresses in Maine. Am I the jerk for not kicking my best friend out of my wedding after she spilled a drink on my sister-in-law at my wedding? Around 3 months ago, I, 25-year-old female, got married to my husband, 27-year-old male. I've been hearing about this from my in-laws non-stop. My husband has a younger sister, Alice, 22-year-old female, who, in my opinion, is a total brat. Alice had some type of childhood sickness, but she overcame it. However, his parents were extremely lenient with her, to the point where she cannot be corrected in any form without it being a big deal. She's been let go from multiple jobs because of this, and she doesn't have many friends and always has to be the center of attention. At my other sister-in-law's birthday, their parents got Alice a gift just in case she got jealous. I'm an only child, and the only sisterly figure I have has to be my best friend Marie. We met in 3rd grade, and since we're both only children, we instantly clicked. We are fiercely protective of each other. Husband and I decided to have a summer wedding, and to my surprise, Alice shows up wearing a lacy white dress. If you told me she picked this out of a wedding catalog, I would have believed you. Between the wedding and the main reception, we had a cocktail hour. People kept asking me about Alice, and I was becoming visually annoyed. A lot of people thought she was my husband's ex instead of his sister. I could tell the situation was pissing Marie off, and I watched Marie walk over to my husband's family, greet them, and on her way back, she tripped and fell by Alice while holding a glass full of red wine. Alice ran into the bathroom, with mother-in-law following her, and his dad came up to us and started to demand that Marie leave. I told them no, Marie's a lightweight and it was a mistake. Husband backed me up and said that since Marie is thin, she can't handle as much alcohol, but we'd make sure she'd sober up before the reception. At the reception, Alice was wearing a beautiful green dress brought to you by Ross, and Marie magically felt better. My in-laws have been bringing up the incident non-stop, but I have a hard time feeling bad, even though I know it wasn't an accident. I mean, it sucks that the dress probably got totally ruined, but let's be real, they showed up to a wedding in a lacy white dress. They were asking for it. I think OP's not the jerk, and honestly, even if morally it's not the high road to take, I feel like a majority of people in the same situation would do the same thing. This next story is from Cherry89S. Am I the jerk for guilting my husband into flying my mom here early so that she could be in the room when I give birth, even though we agreed it would just be the two of us? Originally, the plan was for it to just be me and my husband in the room while I give birth. The closer I got to my due date though, the more scared I felt. I don't know why, but I just started freaking out one night because I wanted my mom badly. My husband tried to calm me down and get me to go back to sleep for ages, but I couldn't calm down until he called my mom and arranged for her to fly here ASAP. I ended up telling my husband I wanted her in the room while I gave birth at the last minute. Recently, my sister-in-law, who I usually have a good relationship with, pretty much chewed me out for guilting my husband into flying my mom here and changing the plan without asking him what he wanted. She told me I'd made my husband feel awful and useless, and that if I cared about him, I should have made sure he was okay with my mom being in the room with us instead of guilting him into that too. Honestly, she struck a nerve and I got angry at her, so I kicked her out. We haven't spoken since, even though she comes often to see my son. Am I the jerk? I think OP's not the jerk. I mean, I can understand why the husband might feel maybe inwardly disappointed that maybe their presence doesn't feel enough to comfort OP, but I think giving birth is a legitimately scary thing, and if your mom is a comforting presence, I think you have every right to want her to be there, even if it's the last second thing you realize you actually really do want. When the husband's the one that has to go sit in the stirrups or whatnot and give birth, then you can have a little bit more leeway. I will say though, at least the husband went and did it and got the mom there. I don't know why the sister is the one that's like being the middleman here. Our next story is from GranAd9559. Am I the jerk because I won't cover for a guy at work who says we aren't friends? I, male 27, am a single dad, my son is 3, and his mom isn't in the picture. This summer, it just happened that both sets of grandparents were out of town and I had to take a week of PTO to chill with my son. No problem, I loved it. When I got back to work, however, there was a bunch of stuff that didn't get done by my work partner. He and I have very different lifestyles. He still spends his weekends partying and having fun with his boys. I work and take care of my son. He was too busy to do it. He's been with this company for 18 months, and before that I did both jobs for over a year. Doing a couple of extra things would have added an hour or two to a pretty slack week. Sorry man, I had my own stuff and it's not like we're friends. It's fine. I literally got caught up in the first day and went on with work. Now he's scheduled to go to a work event out of state. It's an excellent opportunity for him to network and get better at his job. I've been a few times and it's a little boring, but overall a good experience and helpful. However, now his girlfriend's family's rented a place for a really cool sounding golf vacation. Her dad's even arranged tee times at a couple of courses that are on the PGA Tour. He's invited, but it overlaps with the work thing. I could go and cover our work remotely and still do the schmoozing, but I don't really want to. It would mean a week away from my son and getting his grandparents to watch him for a week, so I said I didn't want to go. So he either has to go or quit. He has vacation time, but he didn't book it because of the work thing. He says I'm a jerk because I'm keeping him from a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I just don't want to help out someone who has specifically not helped me because we aren't friends. Am I the jerk? This is definitely one of those situations where you didn't scratch my back, why am I going to scratch yours? It would take some serious effort to be colder to a person. Like straight up saying, well, we aren't friends, so I'm not helping you out. You can't say that to a person and then hope that they're going to help you out in the future. I think OP's definitely not the jerk. Our next story is from Sharp Bluebird 7566. Am I the jerk for not financially helping my stepdaughter through college? I'm married to my husband of 4 years, and we have kids similar in age from our previous partners. My husband has a daughter Susie, female 21, and I have a daughter Lynn, female 19. This year, Lynn started her first year of university and is studying in another part of the country. She's gotten a loan to cover tuition, and I've sent Lynn some money to help her with living expenses. And she's planning on doing seasonal work over the holidays to get extra money. Susie started her second year of university in another part of the country as well. My husband's been sending her money regularly throughout her studies, and he pays her tuition. Recently, my husband came to me and said that Susie's struggling financially after having car problems, and asked if I could pitch in and send her some money to help with expenses. We have a prenup and keep our finances separate, except for splitting rent and bills. I politely refused and asked if Susie had asked her mother to send her money. Just to make it clear, her mother is and always was involved in her life. My husband got offended by my question and asked if I cared about helping out family members. He said that it's only fair I send Susie money since I send Lynn money. I pointed out that he doesn't send Lynn money. He said that Lynn isn't struggling and got really mad and accused me of playing favorites. I thought this was really out of the blue and told my husband that both Susie and Lynn have one parent that's financially helping them by sending them similar amounts of money, so it's not like their levels of support are really all that different. My husband wasn't having it. He called me selfish and said that I'm being a garbage step-parent. I'm sorry, but the kid was already 17 years old when he came into the picture. How likely is it that you bond with a 17-year-old kid that already has 2 other actual parents that are still both actively in their life and get to a point where you have such a connection that you're going to be sending them hundreds of dollars a month? I think this is a situation where if OP doesn't feel comfortable with that, they're not the jerk for not sending that money. I'm wondering if this is something that's more generated from the husband side of things instead of the daughter. Like maybe the husband is actually struggling themselves to hold up some cash, or maybe they want a little access to some of that money that OP is throwing around to their daughter. This next story is from throwaway AITA 929229. Am I the jerk for not letting my kids go out of state with their dad? We have a court order in place for custody. The kids live with me during the week and 1 weekend a month. My ex asked me recently if I would switch weekends with him before the kids' fall break. I said okay to accommodate him, and he didn't give me any additional information. Well, I find out last week for my kids that he and his significant other are taking my kids to Miami out of state for their break. I immediately told the kids there was no way I was letting them go because their dad didn't ask me or inform me of this, and that their dad isn't even paying me child support right now and can somehow afford to take them all in vacation out of state. I don't think the kids care that much as they didn't argue with me. I'm revoking the change in weekends so we can't take the kids anymore, as he never sought my permission in the first place. And now he's flipping out at me saying there's nowhere in the order stating he needs to get my consent to take the kids out of state, just out of country. That I'm ruining an experience for the kids, even though they didn't argue with me over it, so they probably don't care, and that his now significant other who paid for the trip is out $2,000 as they can't go anymore. To me, that's their fault for not asking me before planning the trip. I think both sides are fallible in this situation. I think it should have been mentioned, I think it should have been cleared. But I'm kind of wondering, did they not tell OP because there's no way OP would let them for no good reason? I think OP finding that out and immediately cutting it down and saying, no, you have to ask me, and then saying, oh, well, they're not paying me child support, even though this is a court-ordered custody agreement. It just seems messy all around from both sides. I think both sides are jerks. I mean, think about the kids' experience here. Just because the kids are stoic? If anything, maybe that means they saw you arguing all throughout their childhood, let you shuffle them around like the pawns they seem to be. OP's more focused on the ex rather than the kids themselves. I think overall this is a very messy situation, and I feel like a lot of people are going to feel pretty differently on this, but I think both sides are at a fault here. Our next story is from Not Really a Houseplant. Am I the jerk for making mother-in-law sad in order to correct misinformation about my fam? My boyfriend, both 30s, has made comments here and there about my family to his mom that are basically small lies in order to make her feel better. For example, explicitly or implicitly, that my siblings and I aren't close, that my family isn't close, that I don't like seeing my family, etc., all of which are very untrue. He does this because I don't visit his family very often, so he basically explains that I'm not close or comfortable with any family, but also because it makes her sad and jealous to hear about any other family get-togethers. I won't get too deep into it, but she's not an easy person to like, which is why I don't visit often, and in-laws have very strained to estranged relations with literally every other family member, including their own children. So mother-in-law is both difficult but desperate for family relations. I've told him to stop, and he stopped the blatant lies that I'm not close to my siblings, but he'll still answer her questions. For example, about Thanksgiving plans. Her family's just going to have a small quiet dinner and then we'll all leave early. Basically his family's Thanksgiving. So after that particular Thanksgiving comment, I corrected him. I laughed and said, "What are you talking about? There's going to be 20 people and 2 dogs running around like usual, and you're probably going to drink with the guys and play basketball with the kids all day." She definitely got wounded, sad eyes after I said it. My boyfriend wasn't upset, but explained that he felt it was a harmless white lie that hurt no one, until it was exposed and now hurts her. I know it's petty, but it feels like my family's reputation was being besmirched. Would I be the jerk for correcting my partner lie about my family to his mom, and in doing so, hurting her feelings? I think OP's not the jerk here, and I don't think they have to go along with this lie. And honestly, in the long run, it might be for the best for the mother-in-law, even if it makes her sad to know the truth. I mean, if the mother-in-law is not an easy person to like, and yet nobody ever tries to check that or call her out on it, they're always going to be that. There's no way to correct that. I'm not saying that like being open to them and being honest with the situation at hand is going to lead to some great change. Maybe they'll never change, but they certainly won't if you just keep lying to them and keeping them in their outside bubble. Our next story is from an anonymous poster. Am I the jerk for refusing to apologize for getting married on mother-in-law's birthday and demanding that my husband apologize to me and her? I got married recently, and mother-in-law was such a pain in the butt. She's never liked me, so I expected something, but holy crap, she was a trip. She fought with me about so many things, like why I asked her to wear a certain color. I let it go when I realized how much she did not want to wear it. Why my parents got to have friends and she didn't. They paid. At the rehearsal dinner, she made a loud joke about how her ex hated her, and he still got her a bigger ring than her son got me. The day of the wedding, she sulked to high heavens, wore a almost white, technically blue, absolutely inappropriate dress, insulted my gown, got into a fight with a bridesmaid, and claimed my dad cheats on my mom when my mom told her to stop. Now, mother-in-law sucks, but she usually isn't this bad. I tried talking to her, but she would just not answer. I mean, she would not speak and was just glaring. Finally, towards the end of the night, she asked if she had permission to leave, or is she not allowed even a few hours to herself on her birthday? I was shocked and asked if it was really her birthday. My husband was like, oh crap. And mother-in-law started to get upset about how she just wanted to leave. She just wanted a couple of hours to be with her boyfriend on her birthday. I honestly felt bad and told her I didn't know it was her birthday. Mother-in-law rolled her eyes, and I demanded to know why my husband didn't tell me. He said he didn't know the exact date, and I was shocked. Who doesn't know their mom's birthday? I told mother-in-law to go and have fun with her boyfriend. Father-in-law said it was an honest mistake, but we do owe her an apology. I was shocked. She isn't my mom. Her birthday isn't my responsibility. I said I didn't owe her an apology. Father-in-law and his wife both claimed I should apologize because her feelings were clearly hurt. Mother-in-law's boyfriend said I was actually fine, but her son is a piece of crap and needs to apologize. At this point, I think my husband wanted me to defend him, but I just said that as a woman, I'm not responsible for everyone's social calendar, and he should apologize to both of us. My husband did apologize to mother-in-law, but turned to me in shock and asked why he would apologize to me. I said he put me in a bad position by being irresponsible and not knowing his mom's birthday. He caused drama at our wedding and probably made my strained relationship with his mom worse. He refused, and we decided to just agree to disagree that night and not ruin the wedding, but he still thinks I was cold and heartless with what I said to him. I think OP's not the jerk here because, let's be real, a lot of us would probably not know or easily forget our father-in-law or mother-in-law's birthdays, and this was by far 100% one of those situations where something gets scheduled well in advance and somebody has plenty of time to point out the obvious that it's their birthday, but they would rather wait and hope that somebody notices or calls it out, rather than just suck it up and point out, hey, it's on your birthday. And our final story of the day is from one-star Redditor. Am I the jerk for telling my sister she's a fat, bitter witch? I, 25-year-old male, have been living with my wife, 24-year-old female, for 3 years. She's been my wife for 2 years and girlfriend for 5. My wife is a fairly thin woman, which she's severely conscious about. She's received many rude comments about her weight, which has brought down her self-confidence. Some of these comments have come from my sister, 19-year-old female. My sister was originally fine with my wife, especially in the early years of our relationship. But the past few months, she started commenting on my wife's weight. She would make comments such as, "Oh, is that all you're going to eat?" whenever my wife would fill a plate, and things such as, "Be careful, it's windy outside and you might get blown away," whenever the weather was bad. I think I should mention that my sister's gained a noticeable amount of weight recently. I'm not trying to accuse her of anything, but could it be possible that she's jealous of my wife? I've discussed this multiple times with my parents, stating how these rude comments make my wife uncomfortable. They excuse it as my sister being an edgy teenager and going through a phase. I've decided not to discuss the topic anymore to them. Whenever I bring the conversation up to my sister, she disassociates from it and completely ignores me. I tried to ask if she wanted to talk to me about anything, see what was causing this behavior, and she shut me out. My wife and I have slowly started talking to her less, but we can't completely cut her out of our lives since she's family. Because of this, we've been biting our tongues and dealing with it. Well, that is until the other day. My wife and I decided to invite the family over to celebrate her new work promotion. We cooked a big dinner and even a dessert. Everything seemed to be going fine at the dinner table until it was my wife's turn to fix her plate. She put a large amount of food on it, larger than usual, and my sister noticed. My sister mumbled under her breath, "Not like that food's gonna make a difference." And my wife had enough. She excused herself from the dinner table and went to her room. Shortly after, I could hear her loudly crying. My parents were in shock. I had had enough. My wife didn't deserve to feel like crap on a day that was special to her. My sister was unfazed and made another comment. "It was just a joke. She doesn't need to be a baby about it." In the heat of the moment, I slipped and said, "She's just skinny. You don't have to be such a fat, bitter witch about it." Needless to say, that dinner was cut short. My wife is still genuinely hurt by the situation. I don't think she knows about what I said to my sister. My mom called me the jerk and my dad said I should know better. I've tried reaching out to my sister, but she wants nothing to do with me. I'm starting to feel bad about what I said. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk here. I mean, enough is enough at a certain point, and maybe the words are going to upset them or affect the sister more than just a bitter witch instead of including the word fat. But she's just gone unchecked and you're expected to deal with it, and it's legitimately damaging to your mental health. I think OP honestly should be glad that they finally just up and said it. And if the sister beyond this point feels bad about it or doesn't want to talk to OP, I say good. Maybe, just maybe, they'll reflect and realize they need to be better to people. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, click on that left video. Or if you missed my latest video, check out the one on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.